Alright. I think we're ready. Let's, as usual, do the audio check first. Let's maybe put something better for a preview in here, and let's do the audio checks first. How it is audio on Twitch? 1 2 1 2 Twitch. How do you hear me? Oh. Alright. Small hitch, but it works out. And how it is with YouTube? And it's audio. Come on, YouTube. Alright. Small hitch, and it's audio. 1 2 1 2 YouTube. 1 2 1 2. Microphone check. Microphone check. Microphone check. And how it is in the comfortable sitting position. Okay, seems like it is working. Alright, I guess we can start this. Hi, what's up? Long time no see. I had some, let's call it trials and tribulations since the last stream, but I was able to manage to secure some time today for streaming. And yeah, the topic of today's stream is to develop, I just realized the error. Let's add a space in here. Can I just unclick everything? Okay, yeah. So, today's topic of streaming will be purely programming one, and a little bit of blueprint in that sense that I wanna create rather simple, I think, and quick plugin that would expose Unreal Engine subsystems to Blueprint, and not expose as in just expose a couple of functions. No, that you can create Blueprint version of an Unreal subsystem and make it work, right? And you might be asking, but why? Why? When you have C++, I have Rider here, right? Like, what more I need to work with subsystems? Well, right now I kind of pivoted. I'm developing, it might be a strong word here. We are trying to kickstart. Me and my friend were trying to kickstart a little something, a little game together. And my friend, he is a designer, and he wants to get in more on the action of scripting, right? And affecting the gameplay via scripting, right? And why not just do this with exposing some things to Blueprint? And when he was showing me of some of his designs, etc., and his prototypes, I realized that, and that's what every user, Blueprint user, is doing, is creating those actor managers that you have to place on world. And this one actor manager is becoming kind of like a central hub of some system, right? And when you're doing a game in C++, you don't have to do this. You can just create a subsystem. You don't have to think about, when it will be initialized, because depending on which subsystem are you creating, it will share its lifetime, right? Like, for example, world subsystem will share a lifetime with the world. Local player subsystem will share lifetime with local player, etc., right? And that's where I realized, oh, actually, some of those things should be, subsystem. And for the game that we will be working on, trying to kickstart, create the MVP of an MVP, right? We immediately might need subsystems. So why not give those to my dude, right? I could talk longer. I could talk longer about the game that we're trying to make, but maybe right now let's just focus on a plugin and how to develop it, etc. Not because it's such a secret, but I'd rather just show off things that will be playable, I would say, because, you know, I could talk about what could be achieved, etc., what could be in the game, all the dreams and hopes, etc. But I'd rather concentrate on reality in front of us, and, you know, just like with every project, the first thing that you need to do is to create the prototype, right? As fast as possible to answer the question whether it is just fun. Is it something that is cool to invest your time in or not? Right? And my friend will be the one like doing some portions of the prototype, not only just to, you know, do the prototype, but also to learn scripting, right? And I will be helping him with that, reviewing some of the things. Meanwhile, I'll be doing some other things for this game. Other topics, other prototypes, etc., etc. But for now, let's, you know, try to bring a blueprint scripter closer to the C++ world via exposing subsystems. I wonder if there is actually a decent page for Unreal Engine subsystems. There is. Look at that. Let me make it a little bit bigger. And we have a couple of subsystems. Subsystems automatically instant classes with managed lifetimes. These classes provide easy to use extension points where the programmers can get blueprint and Python exposure right away while avoiding the complexity of modifying and overriding engine classes. Which is amazing. And another thing that I don't think is being covered in here is the fact that, and what is really cool about that is the fact that you can create a system with its own logic, processing of data, and affecting other elements of gameplay without creating actors and getting all of the actors' baggage. And I will show you why in a second, right? Currently supported subsystems lifetimes includes the engine subsystems. It's mostly for like editor. Oh, no. Engine lives as long as the engine lives. Okay, I never really used engine subsystem. Editor for all the editor work, game instance, local player, and they also didn't include world subsystem, because there's also like world subsystem and world subsystem with ticking, right? Reasons to use subsystems. Subsystem saves programming time, yes, because you don't have to deal with complexities, how to spawn an actor, manage all those references, etc. A lot of management is taken off of your hands, right? You don't have to override engine classes. You don't have to add more API to already busy classes like actor, right? Or UObject. You can enable some blueprints. Subsystems are accessible through Python, but I have to say, I never really used Python scripting for Unreal Engine. I know that it is being used for automation and some of the editor tasks, but I never really used that. Subsystems are particularly useful when creating plugins. You don't need to have instructions about the code needed to make the plugin work. The user can just add the plugin to the game, and you know exactly when the plugin will be instanced or initialized. Exactly. So for example, if I was making a combat manager, that's how people are calling it, combat manager, instead I could create a combat subsystem, create it as a game instance or world game instance subsystem or world subsystem, and I know exactly when it is getting initialized. I can get all the necessary data on my own, and the editor user do not have to think about all the setup, how you have to drag, drop these actors into the level. All of that workflow is like taken care of, right? And if you do need to spawn some actors within level for some reason, right? Because there might be a valid reason for that. Actually, it is better to use subsystem and spawn it via subsystem, because then also you can automatically easily adding those actors to the world when you need them, right? Subsystems example is being added here. Yeah, quite easy page to look at. So without further ado, let's quickly take a peek into this. Yeah, let's just freaking do this. Let's just freaking do this. So we are creating ourselves a plugin. It will be a code plugin, right? I got my rider ready here. I got my editor ready here. How do you add plugins, right? It's simple. You click plugin, you click add, and then you have to look through possible plugins via this wizard, right? That you want to add blank, which is nothing. Game feature with content only, or game feature with C++. Modular game features is awesome system. I love it. I wish it would be used more, but yeah, I don't want to go on a tangent with this. I love this feature. Content only, which means that this is a plugin that does not have any C++ component to it, which means you can add it into projects without the need of recompiling the project, right? Blueprint library, when you're providing some library of blueprint functions, editor mode, editor standalone, third-party library. And why I don't see just a C++? There used to be... Okay, so we are creating a blank. Any button or menu entries. That's great, because I don't want to register any buttons or menu entries. I just want to expose blueprint, subsystems, right? As possible blueprint classes to be created, and that would be automatically instantiated. I wonder if it is even possible, right? Because, I mean, it is possible because there used to be a plugin that was doing it. So I know it is possible. But I want to see if it is as easy as I think it might be, right? Author me. Description exposes subsystems system creation to blueprint. Author URL I don't have, is beta version, whatever. Plugin name. BP subsystems. It will create a plugin. We will need to recompile, although I think it might use the live compilation console, right? I forget the name of it. Okay, it is compiling right now. And it might do a hot reload of things. Compiling. I remember at Techland we had an idea that when you are, me and my friend, not related to anything that we were working on, just an idea that whenever you're waiting for compilation, there could be like a mini game running inside of Rider or Microsoft Visual Studio that you could be playing while waiting for compilation. Although it would be eating up resources, so overall compilation will be slower. So it would just be better to just like put up a Switch or Steam Deck and do a couple of moves in Slay the Spire or something. Alright, and it is compiled. Live coding, that's the name of this thing, right? And I think it will be BP subsystems is already exposed, right? I can edit it in that way, add like more stuff to it. We can add plugins that it needs to have in order to, run, right? And plugins that cannot be used by this plugin, which means I actually never seen this being used. But and we can also set a flag that this is no code, right? If it was like a blueprint only plugin or just the content like meshes, etc. That's what will be ticked on. Alright, now in our rider we can try to find it, right? It should be under games, our game, source, and sorry, in plugins, BP, and we have our classes, BP subsystems, the whole module for the plugin, right? But this isn't the editor plugin or anything like this, so it doesn't really. I wouldn't be even going into this, right? But what I need to do right now is open up. Let me type this one down and open up subsystems.h. This is the. I like to work with double pane code because I realized that most of my workflow consists of like constantly comparing the code on the left to the comparing the code on the right, and if I'm working on one specific code, I'm just doing this and then sliding it back, right? Depending on the need. So this is like the header for subsystems, right? And we can clearly see that the documentation that I was showing to you earlier is a little bit outdated because they are saying here that you only have supported engine, editor, game instance, and local player subsystems. Here we see that they are also supporting world subsystem, right? And here's this is a whole API of subsystem, right? It is abstract and minimal API. There's like this function. Let's see which functions do we need to expose, right? So we can work on subsystem, right? It is should create subsystem virtual function, which basically calls upon whether the subsystem should be created. That's where you can, for example, asks for, hey, is this the editor world? Is this the plain editor world? Build or like, packaged game world? Is this shipping or is this not shipping, etc., etc. You could put a lot of logic here to tell the engine whether your subsystem should be created or not. And it is very powerful tool to basically do the logic of when it will be created so you can control. For example, if you are creating editor only and debug only subsystem, you could do it straight wrapping here, like ask whether are you in the editor world and whether you are in non-shippable build, right? Initialize, as the name suggests, you can do a bunch of initialization here. The initialize, of course, the same way. And that I never really use. Get function call space. Is this even used anywhere? Find usages? It's still processing Unreal Engine source files, so it might not find it immediately. And actually, I might have just... yeah, like I see that find function won't be working right now. And there's this thing called dynamic subsystem. It is mostly for engine and editor subsystems, which I never really messed around with, right? But basically, in my opinion, formulating a hypothesis right now, what we do fucking need right now is just to expose that to Blueprint, type in a little nice U class blueprint type and blueprint table, blueprintable. I don't know how the hell you pronounce that. And that's it. But not really on the U subsystem on its own, because that's not what we are trying to work with here. On each and every one of those, like the engine subsystem, game instance subsystem, which shares the lifetime of game instance, local player subsystem, and expose, this API, right? Subsystem blueprint library exists because it exists, and world subsystem .h, which contains both world subsystem, which has quite an API, and tickable world subsystem, which has tick. There's one thing, for example, I'm using a lot of world subsystems, and I still have tick because I can create a tick function, register it to a world, and every time this tick function, a structure called tick function, gets called by world, I can, save the pointer to the world subsystem and tick the world subsystem. Why would I do it that way instead of using tickable world subsystem? Well, because here I cannot change the tick rate. And here, if I use the tick function and register it to the world, etc., I can control the tick rate, which is amazing because I can create subsystem that is processing data not on every frame because I might not need certain processing on every frame, and I can easily control it. And with that, I can easily optimize it, right? If I wanted to go hardcore about it, I could optimize it for like, hey, if you are on these processors and there's this list of processors, do this tick rate. If you are on this list of hardware, then do this tick rate, right? But that would be nuts. But I can, easily adjust the tick rate depending on like low, mid, high, and epic qualities, right? Setup and setting. So, I opened up as a kind of a lookup for me those files that I will be actually exposing, right? So let's get back to my source in here, right? And I'm gonna type and click add. Oh, I don't have the plot. Wait, what? I don't have the Unreal Engine plugin? Rider link. I don't have it? Shit. Let me show you why Unreal Engine plugin is really nice to have for Rider. If I were to add those classes here, I would have to get add class. Oh no, I actually have Unreal class in here. Never mind. But I thought I had it here. I swear my life is never-ending stream of distractions. Like, do I install this in the game right now? No, let's first create the class, right? Unreal class. And I can put all classes in here. I thought that this dialog option for Unreal class to add the Unreal class immediately is only coming when you have Rider link enabled. So, we will be calling it... Which one I want to expose first? World subsystem, because this seems like the most used by me. World subsystem. Let's name the world subsystem. Let's name the BP world subsystem. Right? And okay, it should automatically add those classes. And it did. CPP, here's my seat. Let me put, oh my god, those that I will be working here on the right, on the left. For some reason it is and we immediately might have hit the roadblock. Because for some reason this plugin doesn't see core minimal. I guess it is because I haven't compiled this code, really. So what I need to do right now, I can turn off the engine. And we might just enter the hour-long side quest in here. If this doesn't work out. No, actually build succeeded. But did it though? Did it actually compile to this class? I don't think it compiled anything. Build. Oh, actually it did. Compile BP World Subsystem CPP, compile BP Subsystem. Yeah, it compiled the whole plugin. Why the Rider is doing that? I have no idea. Maybe that's the moment where we should install the plugin. Rider plugin this time. Install plugin in game. Yes, those vulnerabilities are in Unreal Engine, and I hope that failed to build Rider plugin. Why? Oh my god. Did I just fuck up my my compilation? Okay, what is the problem here? Building plugin for host platform, reading plugin from. Okay. Available toolchains. The studio is not preferred version. Please use the. It's just that my Visual Studio CPP standard version is not being supported right now. Oh my fucking god. I don't think I have it in me to right now go on a tangent of like updating all of this shit. So I hope I just didn't break my compilation right now. I didn't. Thank God. So yeah. Yeah, I need to fix that right up after the stream or somewhere during the week because I don't want to like right now launch all the Visual Studio stuff to update it, right? So I'm not really sure why it is showing me that it cannot do this when it clearly compiled, but whatever. I'm not gonna worry about that for a hot sec. Blueprint expose world subsystem, and while we're at it, we can immediately expose clickable world subsystem, right? The clickable world subsystem. We can do this. Blueprint expose U world subsystem, right? And yeah, and what I'm hoping to achieve here is that it will be the first thing that I'm gonna try is blueprint and blueprint type, because I also want to be able to save references to it, right? Although I'm not sure blueprint type. Yeah, no. I don't want to expose as a blueprint type because it would mean that I could create a variable of the subsystem, and I'm not even sure how the fuck that would work. Right? So I got two blueprintables. After I recompile the engine, it should result in me being able to right click in the browser and being able to create a subsystem and have a whole blueprint in front of me, right? Because in theory, that's how it should work. Because let's look at the macro. Exposes this class acceptable base class for creating blueprint, right? This is what this macro does. And because for some reason I cannot rely on those underscores, did it actually compile? Yes, it did compile. Why am I constantly saying did it actually compile? Because it's not. This project is not being made as I usually work on the day job, which is like source code build, which means it is not Epic's Git repo cloned or Perforce repo branched out and built from the scratch, etc. It is, the regular engine distribution that you can get from Epic Game Store, right? And From what I experienced, it's like compiling code with that. Sometimes you think it is compiling, but it turns out no, everything has been skipped. All of your changes has been skipped, right? Meanwhile, when you're working with the source code build, you basically see that it's not skipped because every time you just see that it checks for engine differences and, you know, engine changes and compiles them, right? Dexterovsky's here. Hi, Cloud Code. Make me multi-billion-dollar game. Make no mistakes. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I want to try out Cloud in June, actually. And I want to try it out in two ways. One will be here on stream, of course, for coding and coding for Unreal Engine. And I don't know, Dexterovsky, if you saw, for the Unreal Engine roadmap. And do I have... I think I closed. No, I didn't close. Unreal Engine 5.8 product board. Graham is here. Good morning, GameDev. Hello, Graham. How are you doing? Nexerky says, don't use Cloud, things change. Use Codex. Holy shit, really? Damn, I'm behind times. I thought that the Cloud was the winning one, and it turns out that it's some Codex that I don't even know about. Whatever will be the state of the whole thing in June, I will be jumping into it because I want to see how it actually works for you know, Unreal Engine game working on my own. I want to experience it, and also I saw this video about, you know, MCP and Blender, and you know, my partner wanted to you know, also try it out. Like, hey, will it actually help, or is it you know, snake oil or whatever, right? Ah, you saw MCP. Okay, okay. So you saw. How are you doing, guys? How are you doing, Dexterovsky? How are you doing, Graham? What are you working on right now? Graham answers, it's a late day for me. I'm still up from yesterday. Holy shit. Figured out the proof of concept and now implementing a new plugin. Oh, what kind of plugin are you implementing? Let's search quickly. MCP. Where the hell is this? Yes, MCP server. Yeah, for anyone who's watching, the MCP server model context protocol. I don't know the exact details of this, but basically this is like the layer in between your large language model and whatever tool you're working with, so it can communicate with it and learn how to use it, right? And they are adding it to Unreal Engine. Hopefully at some point, you know, LLMs, agentic LLMs would be able to connect to Unreal Editor and do things within the scene, maybe do something with blueprints, etc., etc. So it might speed up some of the more irritating stuff in the editor. It might also fuck up your project, just like with everything LLM, right? So everything is possible, but they are adding it, right? So, Graham, I wonder what kind of plugin you are working on right now. And Dexterovsky, I'm wondering how is your stuff going. I remember last time, you know, you were talking about, I mean, you were talking about using the codex, right, and Claude, and you wanted to import level importer. Siphon filter 1, did it work out in the end? Graham says, I have made a plug and play replication visualizer for Unreal Engine. Yes, I remember us talking about that, right? Shows RPCs history, they're reliable and Unreal. Oh no, we talked about different plugin. Right now I'm getting things conflated. But yeah, reliable and unreliable buffer usage. Damn, bandwidth packets and bunches has built-in storing and replay of replication data ownership, relevancy, network debugging. Holy shit, are you putting it out for sale or something? Because I'm, you know, I'm sure companies would love to buy that. Yeah, I had to fix, at the day job, I had to fix so many errors connected to like RPCs. When there is latency, RPCs can come in actually out of order and you have to check for that, and finding out that yes, this is the cause of it was hard. With your plugin it would be way easier. Maybe at some point. This is primarily for my team who are in the skill at debugging network issues or optimizations. Great work, dude. Great work. Great work, man. I am sure as hell that your team, you know, appreciates that work. And yeah, like debugging network issues, especially optimization of it, is a bitch right now in Unreal Engine. Yeah. Just flashbacks. Nexterovsky answered, yeah, I had to take some break off Unreal Engine again because of work stuff. Understandable. I am putting some small things into levels I'm working on, and that's it. Okay, okay, so a little bit of a break. Understood, complete. Graham says, I'm going to later on when I upgrade the engine, next integrated with Slate, I am, and make it work at runtime in packets. Ooh, so if you start lagging, you can turn it on, record, and then engineer or network guy can play it back after the fact. Amen. That's amazing. That's amazing. Yes, like QA team or whomever could just turn on non-shipping builds and record the bug or the problematic moment and replay it. That's exactly it. Yeah, like right now, I'll be honest, for the day job, I am trying to incorporate or upgrade my skills with usage of I'm lacking the name right now. Visual Unreal Engine Visual Logger. That's how it was being called? Yes. So I would add more data or debugging capabilities to my systems so they could be recorded by Visual Logger. So I don't have to like take a report, do the repro steps and be like, okay, just doing the repro steps and seeing that the bug is off doesn't immediately give me information, because it turns out the timing is of everything, and you know, I would love to see how variables change over the time, and I cannot reproduce it because, for example, you need 4 players running and only on build and in the high quality, and my PC gonna run it, etc., right? So right now I'm upping my game with this, right? Because then you can, what Graham is saying for his plugin as well, you can record stuff for the build, and then I can play it back in editor and actually see, for example, how specific variables or tags or whatever were changing over the time, and I can observe the pattern that is not what I expected it to be, and I can clearly make a connection why something is broken, right? That's amazing support, and I'm surprised that the visual logger is not being talked more about, or at least I, you know, in my career haven't seen programmers or designers or more people talked about it more, because it is an amazing tool. So yeah, I'm trying to incorporate it more into my workflow and educate about this. And it seems like, Graham, your plugin is, you know, similar. Graham says, but absolutely, everything that you could want to know about multiplayer connectivity and usage will run through this tool. It got a little spicy. Nice, wonderful. It probably is unmeasurable, because you would have to connect to the alternative universe where this plugin doesn't exist and compare the work time. But you know, I think we could take an educated guess that the amount of time working on network issues will get shortened, because the data and the visualization of it will be in your face. What you see is what you get, right? So it will be easier to observe patterns that shouldn't emerge, etc., etc. It already found an issue I didn't know about. Exactly, right? That I love these type of tools. I know that sometimes, you know, C++ programmers are against visual tools. They prefer logs. but I don't understand why, really. I like visual tools like that help you see the timeline, etc., etc. So the same with like Unreal Insights. I wouldn't be able to optimize the game on the day job if I didn't have Unreal Insights, or if I wouldn't be able to use any other like visual tool for that. So yeah, it saves a lot of time. All right, let's see if our short uClass macro worked out. Let's take content and I don't know, let's create a new folder, blueprint testing. Blueprint, no, VP subsystems test or examples, right? I should actually have it in the plugin, but I will do house cleaning a little bit later. And that's the thing. I should be able to click blueprint class, all classes, and subsystem PPT cable world subsystem. Wait, I could already. Did they actually expose subsystems already to Blueprint and I just didn't know about it? If so, then it is the funniest shit ever. Because I remember when I used to, when it was just wasn't possible, and maybe that's why the plugin was offline, because they just added it in the engine. And this means that the whole stream today is out of whack. Kicks my ass. Kicks my ass. Graham asks, what are you working on today? Subsystems? Yeah, basically, you know, when it comes to my personal game project, I pivoted a little bit. A big bit, because the game I was working on, I kind of shelved it because I got together with my friends and we want to work on a game together that is genre-wise completely different, right? And my friend is a designer and he wants to get in on the action of blueprint scripting, right? Like he's making his first steps, etc. And he wants to do like an MVP prototype for the game that we're trying to do, right? And use the MVP dirty prototyping just to see if the game is actually fun, right? And if it's worth investing our time into. He wants to use this also as a launching pad to like learn more about scripting, right? And when we were talking about how he wants to arrange things, I saw that he was constantly creating those actor managers, right? So there was an actor that always have its name ending with manager, and you have to drag and drop it on the level to make the whole game work, etc., etc. You know the drill, right? Which to every C++ programmer screams, subsystem. You need subsystem, right? Even if you actually need physical actors on the level, subsystem should be instantiating it. You shouldn't be remembering that you have to drop 15 actors into the level to make the game work, right? So I was immediately like, no, dude, we are using subsystem, right? Here are the reasons why. And also, you can unhook yourself from the actors. And me, I remember back in the day, subsystems weren't exposed to Blueprint. This was C++ only accessible thing. So yeah, I didn't even use it. And I remember, I think it is on streams and on VOD records on YouTube, that in the project that I was working on, I tried to do optimization via subsystems, and I was wondering if they were exposed to blueprints, and they weren't. So I was like, shit, I wanted to use them, but I couldn't, right? So I talked to my friends, and I told them, like, we will buy this plugin. There is this plugin that just, you know, super cheap plugin that exposed blueprints to, that exposed subsystems to blueprints, right? It disappeared from the marketplace in the last sale, and I was like, okay, let's I'll just do it for you, right? It will be easy. And I think right now we discovered why it disappeared, because I think they just exposed it. Dexterovsky, LOL. Exactly, LOL. I just wanted to do this thing and maybe like create like an example for my friend here on live stream. of how you would use it, etc. Like some weird ass logic, but you know, showing the API, etc. But it turns out it actually might be exposed. No, actually, it's not exposed. I cannot select it. Oh, thank God! It's just the UX that was like. Okay. I jumped the shark too quick. Graham says I'm on 5.5.4 and it's not exposed. Yeah, it is not exposed in here either. It's just that it shows up in the, you know, class picking, pick parent class wizard as something possibly pickable, but it's not pickable. So UX got me scared a little bit. Whew. So okay, it made sense. So let's create BP, call it BP example world subsystem, right? Could not check for deleted file, no connection to revision control. Yes, because my server is offline, because that's something that I truly would love for both company responsible for Perforce to work on, and also I think it is exposed in Unreal Editor, that basically if you're working with being connected to your repository, especially with Perforce, I think it shows the server connection here. It might be even exposing IP. And when you are turning on the Perforce and you have the Perforce screen on your monitor, I would stream IP addresses. It's just very unfriendly to that. So each time I will be working on something here, revision control is always offline, right? Because I don't want to expose this shit, right? So I would have to do reconcile offline work, which is dangerous actually, because while I'm working here, I might be working on some blueprint that my friend who is connected to the Perforce server could be working on, and then I do reconcile offline work, and it turns out I cannot check in or merge our shit, right? So yeah, I would love for some merging capabilities for blueprints. There are workarounds that you could do. I remember 2 day jobs ago. What a time measurement system. But you know what I mean. 2 day jobs ago. There were a lot of problems because people were trying to like merge blueprints in that kind of fashion, and it always resulted in lost work and lots of bugs. So basically we have this BP world subsystem. I just need to expose, you know, our functions and we'll be golden. I actually also bought a couple of cool plugins for the project that we're working on. For example, like markdown notes, where I can create a note for blueprint. I can start writing here something. I can link, you know, like Google.com. I cannot write for shit, right? And it creates, you know, it's becoming embedded into this asset, and I can create like all of the markdown. How to use it, right? And type in blah 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 blah, right? Which is awesome because in theory I think I could just connect it to like Obsidian and have it uploaded to like Git or whatever, and we could have the documentation that is both accessible in the editor, and when you click on the embedded asset you could view it for this asset, you could view it online, etc. Like this is something, you know, cool that could be worked on. There's like an editor here, etc. Cool stuff, cool plugin. I recommend it. Okay, now let's delete everything. I don't want to have a note in here. So yeah, so right now let's finish. Actually, I jumped the shark. I thought that maybe they exposed it, but it just, you know, my error of not looking at the UX, that the button disappeared, right? So let's just expose everything for both world subsystem and tickable subsystem, so my friend would be able to actually, you know, script something, right? For example, you know, we talked about, because it will be a turn-based game, you know, like a combat manager, a turn manager, etc. And I'm like, why don't we use subsystem? Because for our game design, like turns and action points are tightly intertwined. Why create like 6 different managers that will be constantly calling upon each other? It is one logic tied together, right? So let's put it in the subsystem, right? Actually, it will be, yeah, it will be a world subsystem or tickable subsystem, depending on what my friend will come up with. But I want him to, like interface and think more in the programming terms. But I'm glad it's not exposed because it would defeat the purpose of this whole stream, right? So okay, let's first I mean, we'll only be doing public calls, right? The first one is, oh, it is still processing and indexing, right? There's still indexing, right? So I can, oh, I cannot, oh, I can, right? Get world ref. Actually, we won't support world ref because I don't think, actually, fuck it, let's support everything. Basically, we need to create a mirror of most of those functions, right? So, deprecated 5.5 implement is streaming subsystem interface. Okay, so we won't be updating this, right? Graham says this is a very bright IDE. Yep, very, very colorful IDE. Yeah, I got so used to those colors that to me they are so much part of how I'm reading the code that I wouldn't be able to quit it right now. I heard some arguments that actually maybe it's not great for the programming to have this many colors, but I'm so used to derive actual code information depending on the color, the cursive, etc. To decide to read what is what. That is so hard to quit. Yeah, so let's just do this, right? So it will be like first U function. It will be blueprint callable. Everything will be blueprint callable. Next Sadowski says, yeah, my eyes hurts looking at this. For long-term coding, I would be blind. Really? Holy shit. But tell me guys, is it so problematic for y'all that it is hard to look at the stream? Because I might, do something like maybe I could put some filter on when viewing Rider in OBS so I could still, work with the code the way I work with the code, but I wouldn't do an eye strain for you. You know what I'm saying? Like if it is a big problem for you, I can, try to do it like right now. Like I don't know, maybe do like a monochrome filter. Is there even something like this in OBS? For sure. There's something like this in the set color filters. Yeah, there are some like effect filters and shit, so I could do something for y'all. If it is that problematic, please let me know. Either if you are on stream right now or if you're watching in the future on YouTube VODs, drop a comment. If those color schemes are painful to look at and they're only good for me, then I will add a filter for y'all so you wouldn't be hurt by my poor life choices. Lixersky says, no, it's okay. I'm lucky that at my 30s I am not blind, so I do not need any glasses for working with PC, but it's recommended. Okay. I used to wear glasses for working in front of PC, but it was more for like blue filter because my eyes were straining so much. But right now, after work, I don't sit in front of the computer almost at all. So actually, my eyes are resting a lot. And it turns out that, hey, they don't strain as much as they used to, right? So I'm okay with it right now. And also I wasn't sure really if those blue filter glasses were actually working, to be honest. Okay, U function blueprint callable, and of course it will be. That is interesting, actually. Is UWorld blueprint type? Can I even expose that shit? Let's find out. Because I'm not sure if UWorld is not, it is minimal, there is no blueprint table, etc. I'm not sure if I can expose, if world is exposed to blueprint. So we will also additionally learn a couple of new things, because I don't think I ever needed to expose world to blueprint. I never even came across a need for that, and I'm not sure if my friend would need that as well. Like, why would he need the world for? In the world subsystem, he might actually need to ask for, like, hey, find me an actor with this tag, etc. So yeah, Dexterowski says, UWorld probably not, UObject is. Yeah, UObject of course. So fuck it, let's try this. UWorld get pp get world, because I am not actually, if you look at it, I am not actually inheriting those functions, right? Overriding those functions, right? I'm only creating a blueprint API that is a mirror and it's calling those base classes. I'm not changing anything in any of those implementations, and I don't want to, right? Blueprint get world and it's const and it's final. That's also another thing, like, can a function be final for a blueprint callable function? No. It's not virtual, yes, because it would have to be a virtual function. Of course, final can only be for virtual function. What the fuck I was thinking. Actually, why not just include world? Pure context action. I wonder why it's not showing me that I could just do the... Dexterowski says, what the fuck is final? Is it some Java shit or what? Nah, I'll be honest, I'm not sure what the history of how the world final came to be in C++ is, but basically it is denoting that if I created derived class from this, I wouldn't be able to override this function. This is the final override, and if I tried to do this, I would just get a compilation error denoting that, hey, no, you cannot override the function to change, what is actually happening underneath the hood when you call the God world, because world system has the final implementation of the override. Something like that. Very technical explanation, right? But I'm not sure if it was the C++ that had it first or some other language in C++ took it from. Actually, final. CPP reference. It is since C++ 11 specifies that the virtual function cannot be overridden in the derived class. Instead of like 6 sentences, broken sentences from me, I could have just have one sentence. Or that class cannot be derived from. Yeah, because it is for both for the class. Yeah. It can be used both for the whole fucking struct or class or for the function, right? And you can also have, this is funny, final. Final. Yeah, that's cool, right? But it doesn't say where did it came from. Okay, fuck it. Let's not go on the side quest, on a tangent. With that. But yeah. When you're creating APIs, API is very helpful, because for me, for example, this final from whomever at Epic Word, this means do not fuck around with this. This is final implementation, do not fuck around. If you do, and delete the final and try to override this shit, you're on your own, buddy. Right? That's what it tells to me. Like, you better fuck off. And it's like, okay, I'm fucking off. I'm not touching it. Right? Dexterowski says, okay, thanks for explaining though. No problem. With my broken way of explaining things. I hope, I'm not making too much of confusion. Alright, so We'll see how that will get resolved. I am very curious. I never had reason to do this. Because there's no pointers in Blueprint. There's only references. For good reason, right? This is what I really want to freaking create. Blueprint callable, of course, because I want my friend to be able to dictate. It will be... Actually, how to go about this? Because it's not like that. Here it is simple. BP get world will just called get world. With the should create subsystem, I actually want it to be the other way around. I want to have should create subsystem, call BP version function of that, and return this value. So it's actually not. It's actually differently. It's should create. Okay, it's not working as I hope it would be working, right? So it's that. Why can't you override? You are overriding a base class member. This is a base class member. That's annoying that I have to like that I cannot rely on any of the rider help with here, not only because of, you know, it's still indexing files, but also because I cannot install rider link because I have older VS toolchain, and right now doing it on stream, it just pains me to do it because sometimes I'm clicking the wrong thing and it's like a 30-minute tangent, and you know, I don't want to do it, so I cannot trust any of those underscores. That's some fucking coding, right? What is that? And then here's like U function, and it will be blueprint native event. Actually, what is native event? It is the function that is overridden by blueprint. Or actually, wait, there's blueprint implementable event. This function can be implemented only in blueprint. There is no C++ code implementation. It has to be implemented in blueprint, and that way I can create a chain where should create subsystem C++ function will call blueprint function, call whatever the fuck is needed to be done there, return the value of whether the subsystem should be created, and use that for the rest of the world initialization, right? And this is boolean BP should create subsystem, and I don't need uObject outer in here, I think, or should I? Let's maybe add it, and it's of course const, right? What does he want? And I have, oh my god, subsystem. I swear to god, sometimes I waste more time on typos and from making sure that there are no typos. I think he's fucking with me with those forward declarations. I think I don't need, actually I might need this, but for sure I don't need to include uObject. That is rather, you know, messing with me. Yeah, process those files. So now I can, I wonder if it will work out, if it is still like indexing. It does. Return get world. What get world? I am pretty sure that this will not compile though. And here I want to call BP return BP should create subsystem and outer, of course, right? What kind of colors do you guys have set up in your IDEs? I know, Dexterski, that you're also using Rider. Graham, if you're still here, what kind of IDE do you use and what kind of color scheme? Are you guys keeping it like super low minimal on colors, etc.? Or is it just pure white colors? Right, white colors. Just one color for all of the text. Graham says VS and default. Oh, okay. I think I still remember the default color scheme. And my color scheme actually comes from, there used to be this plugin for VS. I don't remember if it still exists. Visual Assist X or something like this. Yes. And it had like this color scheme that I'm using it. And I think there was like some either feature or something that, or some community made, or maybe one of my friends actually spent some time to recreate this color scheme in Rider, and I've been using it ever since. Like since 2015 or something like this, since Visual Assist X, and using it. How is Visual Studio these days, Graham? Because I remember dropping it from Rider because it was like a little bit slow when it came to working with Unreal. How is it nowadays? Like, are you using like the newest version, or how is your experience with that? I prefer it to Rider for debugging by far. It can be a bit bulky though. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the one thing that I really do miss in Rider, that some of the debugging capabilities in VS, if I remember, because it's been so many years, were much better than Rider. That is sometimes, I remember, especially when I was working at Flying Wild Hog, that I was sometimes missing the, for example, good memory watch. I think Rider fixed its memory watch for C++ and Unreal Engine only like a couple of versions ago. And a couple of other things that I used to rely on, it's just not there, right? Graham says, I find it too much of the autocomplete, and auto includes difficult to intuit for new devs. Oh! I also prefer to teach people on VS and them to use VS. Okay, I haven't considered that, actually, that it might be easier to bring someone up to speed with coding. Yeah, because that's true. VS doesn't have as much of autocomplete, which when you are starting actually might be a bit of a good thing, because it forces you to think about what you're typing. Like later years down the line, yes, for me autocomplete is like just a means to save time, right? And still I use it not all the time, right? But I haven't considered that for a newcomer. It would be basically like, oh, it magically fills out the code for me and I have no idea what the fuck am I doing. Yeah, that's some food for thought. Yeah, you only want tools to do the things that are muscle memory for you to do. Yeah, I agree. Not be excluded from your awareness and you being totally stuck when suddenly you have to do it. Yeah, that's the thing that I, observing from afar, because I'm not in the LLM assisted code creation world at all. I want to try it in June to see what's up with that. I've heard and read and I see so many memes about, like, even for senior developers when they get their Claude or whatever LLM agent they are using to create code for them, right? That at some point they are forgetting basic things, like if they are too reliant on that. Like, I watched this video from this dude, I forgot his name. He had like long hair and a beard, when he was saying that basically it felt like erasure for his brain, right? Like he was losing some neural connections and he was not able to, even when he encountered the bug that he knew that back in the day he would be able to fix it right away, he was like, fuck, I forgot how everything works, right? I heard that that's what happens, and autocomplete also can do this thing for you. If you are forgetting, for example, how I had one example from my own life, and I stopped using autocomplete for that. Like, damn, I forgot because I started not using autocomplete for that stuff. I had this specific thing a couple of years ago that when it broke for a little bit of time in Rider, I was like, holy shit, and now I don't know how to do this particular thing, but I'm forgetting what the fuck it was. Doesn't matter. Something about like RPC with the implementation portion of it, etc., that I forgot how to do it by hand, and I was like, holy shit, I forgot everything about this, right? Something around that. Graham says, I spend quite a large portion of time teaching these days. Oh, nice. And that's just what I've landed on preference-wise. Yeah. At the end of the day, it is a little bit of preference, right? It's not like, oh, there's like a clear winner here, right? If you are experienced developer and you're going for speed, Rider might be a better option for you. But if you prefer the debugging capabilities of VS, and as you say, you are bringing in people fresh to coding, it might be better to use VS. When we were shipping the game at the day job, actually we were using both because certain things were, like easier to do quickly in Rider, but certain debugs, especially memory related debugs, where suddenly something from some other thread was writing into a memory where game thread was also processing and another thread tried to get in. So there was like super problem, right? Because it wasn't just like, oh, game thread and the thread. Game thread and a thread, right? 3 threads at the same time trying to access the memory. I just couldn't do it with Rider. We had to like use Visual Studio Debug because actually with Stomp Malloc it was showing exactly what was going on. With Rider, it wasn't. Even in the debug, because here we only have debug game, but with the source code engine build, we were able to choose like debug, so slowest, the most unoptimized compiled version. Even there, Rider just wasn't showing data that would help us fix the problem, right? So for memory and especially thread racing, etc. capabilities, VS can't be beat. Graham says, yeah, it's a match, and cutting debug time down is paramount to me as an indie dev, hence the plugins lately. Of course. And in the end, I think when you are using Rider and you want to ship your game legally and you still are using VS, MSVS compiler, I think you are legally obliged to buy some form of license of VS Studio or VS Visual Studio anyway, I think. That you cannot rely on community version when you are actually trying to release a game as a one-person company or a small company. I think you are obliged to still buy the Visual Studio license to, compile this shit. Because even though I'm using Rider, if we look at the build, it is using the toolchain of Visual Studio, right? And I have a license for it, right? So you still have to buy license not only for Rider but also for Visual Studio, or at least it used to be the case. I'm not sure if it is anymore. So don't don't rely purely on me saying this. But I remember that in 2021, when at my day job we were looking at it, it was like, yeah, you still need to have a license to legally do it. But I'm not sure how it is these days. Microsoft either could relax the license for MSVS compiler toolchain or actually made it more strict. Graham says, I didn't know that actually. Yeah, because it's not like most of the license stuff is not in your face, right? Because if we fuck up, they can sue us for a lot of money, right? So nothing about licenses that in your face. All right, let's do. Let's expose more. Graham, are you planning on you and your team, are you planning on merging to the newer versions of Unreal? Because I'll be honest, the newest 5.8, it might be the first version of Unreal 5 where they are not shipping like a new big shiny feature. It's just a bunch of fixes, UX improvements for everything that came before, right? There are a couple of new smaller features like sandboxes, which seems awesome. Provide an isolated workspace where you can experiment with some shit and it doesn't pollute your version control. You don't need to create additional branch, etc. It's just inside of the editor, and you can like also share it with other people from your team, etc. But these are like those smaller features compared to like Nanite, right? Lots of user experience stuff. So I have a, if I were to bet, I would bet that this might be the most favorite update for the community because it's just a bunch of fucking fixes and user experiences improvements. Dexterowski says 5.8 has mesh terrain, which is very nice, but only works with word partition. Ah, yes. But they don't really talk about it in the same way as they did with like megalites, etc. Right? It's just like, hey, a new mesh terrain is here. We are a little bit shy about it, you know. But I didn't know that it is working only with word partition. Super. I wonder why you cannot use it for just, you know, like a non-open world, non-world partition game. It would, I guess it might be a constraint for now. I don't know. I would have to dig deeper into this. But yeah, this is like maybe one new shiny feature, but they didn't create like the whole presentation inviting like some stars to talk about it, right? There are a couple of others new features in here, but it seems like it might be the first like more sane update in a long time. And I wonder like how many people will, you know, like opt in to merging this. Okay, U function. The next one is initialize. Also, it's the same way. I need to first. I wonder, like for example, right now my autocomplete is broken, right? At the day job, I can just type initialize, press tab, and it will just do all of this stuff, right? And that's the thing that I forgot at some point when autocomplete fucked over. I was trying to overwrite things and I forgot the override word, right? That I have to put it, and it was constantly throwing me errors. And I was like, why? And it was like, oh shit, I was so much relying on this autocomplete, right? So we want to do this, and we want to do blueprint implementable event called void bp initialize. And this is another thing that sometimes autocomplete can do something that you didn't want it to do, like do an inline. I didn't want to have an inline, although I guess compilation still could make a function inline if it decides that it would be better. And here will be bp initialize, right? Because I want during the initialization, you know, call this post initialize the same way, right? I want to do a pairing. Actually, I want to do this. And void, oh my god, u function blueprint implementable event void bp post initialize. Oh my god, not override. What the fuck am I doing? Right. And pre-deinitialize also is something that I wanna expose to my friend, right? So virtual void pre-d. Let me just copy it. Why am I copying it instead of typing it? Because I'm constantly doing typos. I learned it the hard way, and for some reason I cannot wire and train enough of typing to make less typos. So I just accepted that my brain cannot not make typos, right? So that's why I'm so sometimes relying on autocomplete or copying parts of code, because then I'm wasting time on finding bugs, etc., just because of a typo, or I'm wasting time on compile errors when I could have just copied the correct code, you know? Initialize override and u function, of course, blueprint implementable event void pp pre initialize. And I want to do one thing, because I don't want it to show for those functions to show up for my friend with the bp underscore, right? Because it's like, you know, because it's already a blueprint function, so for it would be for my friend visual noise, right? So what you can do is display name. Is it a meta or is it not a meta? I always forget. No, it's not a meta. It's just a regular macro display name get world, right? I can just do this. Blueprint implementable event the same way, display name should create subsystem. And the same way. For example, these are the things that I would love to, you know, create a macro for, like, okay, take every function with the u function, blueprint call implementable event, or callable like that, and do a little automation for this, but I never got around to it, right? And also it's good, as Graham stated here, sometimes to remind yourself of how to do things, right? Just so you won't get stuck later. Display name. Oh, and I forgot the parentheses. Not parentheses. Oh my god. Quotation marks. Post initialize. And display name. Pre-deinitialize. Yeah, I'm forcing right now myself to type it by hand. Just to make my brain work. Oh my god, there's a lot of API, and I thought that this would be a simple plugin in the sense like, okay, pick, done, right? On world begin play. The same way, I want it to be like a blueprint implementable event, but first I need to go on world. Override. This will be calling u function blueprint implementable event void on world begin play, and let's see if we can actually, you know, bp underscore, and of course display name on world begin play. It's I don't think I need that, but you know, the same way virtual void on world and play world override, and we will do a bunch of implementation in a second. View function, blueprint implementable event name, display name, blah 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 blah. On world and play. In all actuality, right now I'm thinking, shouldn't I expose like create like the base BP world subsystem blueprint classes just so my friend can see all the API that is possible or not? No, I should just create an example. Can actually pair it up like this so it would be easier to see all the pairs, right, coming together. And this is void on BP on world and play view world, this in world, override, not override, how am I doing? World and play, world components updated, called after world components line batcher, and all level components have been updated. I don't see us using it because it is more for world composition and shit, but you know, just for the sake of making sure that it is fully featured, right? That I don't need to do. This is also something protected. The support world type I need. So this is the last one that I really need to do. And override view function, of course, blueprint implementable event, display name, yada yada yada. Oh my god, so much typing. On world. Void BP. I'm not sure if it will, you know, compile with those world references and pointers and shit, but we will see. I'm fully expecting it to be a lot of errors and me trying to figure out, okay, how can I then give reference to the world to my friend, right? Let's see. Actually, this is not a virtual function. Okay, so I cannot even do this. Instead, I can do like view function, blueprint callable, display name. Get world ref. BP get world ref. And we'll create all the implementations in a hot second. We need to do like protected space implementation as well, which here will be virtual support type, world type, which is very important. Right, const override. Don't fuck with me that you don't know this. You do know this. It is basic engine type. No, it is just rider being rider. View function, blueprint implementable event, display name. Does support world type. BP does support. And for world subsystem, that is all. And let's just implement all those functions and try to compile it, because that way I will see what will work and what will not work, right? So BP world get ref should be return get world ref, right? He thinks he doesn't know what the hell is this, but I know that he knows. I just know that he knows. We can do that. Post initialize should call BP post initialize, right? Pre-deinitialize should call BP pre-deinitialize. So everything from Blueprint can be deinitialized, and then we can go further, right? Super. What the hell? Ah, because it's empty. Okay. So it doesn't have to do anything more. On world begin play should call BP on world begin play. Is it doing anything in here? It does actually. So in world, it should it be blueprint first? No, it should be super on world begin play. And once again, it thinks that it doesn't know that. I stake my bet that it does know that. I want to call the super function on world begin play. Here BP on world end play in world. And I want to call the super later, right? Here I think I should call. Wait. Ah, it's empty, so I can just call BP on world components updated world. It creates subsystem, initialize. Yeah, everything is like great. I only just want to put this up top. And the big moment of truth, whether everything here. Ah, yes, and does support world type. Or did I already? No. Why it didn't? Doo-doo-doo-doo. Alright, fuck it. Then let's just override it ourselves, right? Shall we? We don't need this, we only need this. We need our all class in here. This, and BP does support world type, return. That's how it's supposed to be. And let's see all the compilation errors right now. Yeah, I can save it. Or wait, let me clean it up, right? Because I just wanted to create it just to see. Force delete. If blueprintable macro will work for world subsystem, it does. So I can delete here and do it properly. TP subsystems content, create here. I called it subsystems example, right? And yeah, now I have all the examples in here, right? Great. Let me turn it off right now. Let's see if this shit is compiling or not. I stake my bet on not. And here is the problem with the, for example, if you rely too much on autocomplete at the beginning of your career, right? Or hobby or whatever, your first steps into the coding, that this would be so, I would be scared of these wrong underscores by writer here, right? Because I would be like, oh no, I'm lost. Right now I'm not that scared because like, yeah, I know it compiled and this is bullshit. That it's underscoring this and telling me that it doesn't know the world subsystem. What the fuck? Ha! I knew that I probably couldn't expose reference like this. I just fucking knew this. Alright, so the first one bites the dust. Right? Let's go for the next one. Another? Where? Ah, yes. Let's create a version when we are not passing world as a reference here. Where I was, it was begin play, right? So here, this is not going in here, and I can immediately do this, and I will figure out how to expose the world to my friend on this API call in a hot second. Because I would love for him to have those exposed. Maybe I need to create like a pointer, and or maybe actually I need to learn how to pass in things as blueprints reference. And we got our first button here, AI viewers on streambo.com. Why would I want AI viewers? Really? Like what that would achieve? That's so stupid. Ban. Boom. Ban hammer dealt. Why? Like artificial inflation of numbers of viewers. First of all, I think it's against the terms of service for all of the streaming platforms. But second of all, it is like artificially inflating your ego. Like, yes, maybe you will get upped up so people would be seeing your stream first. So you might be thinking that it will boost your stream game, right? And then you will get organic viewers, and then you can drop the bots off. But the perception that will, I bet, be is that, oh shit, this guy has 3,000 views. Oh, and then it got 6,000 views because 3,000 viewers actually jumped in. And then the bots dropped off. And from the statistics perspective, it would look like half of your viewership, fucked off to Neverland. And it might be boosting your, like sphere of influence a little bit, etc. But it's like fake, right? It's not real humans that are excited by you. It feels more like you are extorting Twitch and YouTube systems for money. So I don't get that. But also I don't make money on streams, so maybe that's why I don't get that. Alright, let's do the compilation. No such file or directory. That's what I thought, that I don't need this. I can just run it like that. Wait, what do you mean the build has started? I have some build running in the background? Return, cannot convert from void to build. Wait, what? Oh, of course. Did I say bill instead of bull? Fuck. Voila. Even though it is like screaming right there in its autocomplete, tries to add includes that I don't need and are actually wrong, and everything, it actually compiles. That's what, for example, Graham was stating, like, yes, autocomplete can fuck you over if you don't know what you're doing, because I might be just adding those includes, etc., and wondering why it's not compiling. Instead, I'm like, nah, all of this autocomplete and help information right now is bullshit because something is messed up. Either indexing isn't finished, or this writer plugin is fucked up, or some other setting is fucked up, but I don't, it doesn't do a lot damage to my work, right? Because I can just go through it. I have compiler that actually works, right? And my own knowledge that I'm like, no, it knows how to include this stuff. Precompiled header must be included at the top of the source files. And guess what? It fucking is, right? Precompiled header. It just doesn't see it. No, I don't need to regenerate the project files. I mean, they were already regenerated. So all the error files, all the errors that right now Rider is showing me are false negatives. So I have to rely on compiler errors and my own, of course, knowledge. So now let's take a peek. Let's actually, once again, create blueprint class, type in world subsystem, and BP world subsystem, here it is. I can select it, BP example, no, it should be world subsystem example, right? Could not check, yes, revision control is turned off, right? And if I click functions here, I see all of my functions that I exposed to blueprints, right? So for example, I can do like right now, event initialize. I would love to get world in here, right? So that's what I will be working in a second here, because I want to pass in the world in here, right? So I might create, pass the address of this reference as a pointer. We'll see about that, right? But I might also need a little break because I'm running out of hot tea. Actually, I ran out. I might need refuel in a hot second, right? So on world begin play, actually initialization doesn't have world, but world begin play, world end play, components update, and does support the world. No, only those three I would love to pass in the world here. For my friend, event initialize, let's just print string on, on the on the screen and into the log, right? Let's have it last here, and it will be initialized. It can be blue, and let's get display name, self, get a reference to self, right? And append initialize. What the hell? Initialize gold, right? And all of this stuff. Now I go like boom, boom, and it should automatically be created, right? So I have the function initialize, right? But yeah, should create subsystem, of course. This is the outer. Get world, transform, etc. Yeah, like it is weird that world isn't really exposed to. Oh, I have something, but I don't think. Yeah, I have like a pointer to world here, right? But I cannot do too much with it because it doesn't contain any. Yeah, let's take a peek into the code itself. It doesn't contain any function that would be blueprint callable, right? So you cannot do anything. Like you cannot even ask for like what type of net mode this world is. Is it a listen server, dedicated server, client? What is it, right? So let me actually find it. Blueprint. There is get world settings, and then these are okay. Yeah, two functions that are exposed, and I cannot do anything with this. So the whole get world actually might not be needed here. I have the outer here, but also like I cannot imagine what kind of thing from the blueprint perspective, mind you. From the code perspective, I can, like ask like outer about anything, right? For example, get net mode. No, I cannot. In C++, I could, right? But I don't think I would be exposing this to my friend, because it will just be confusing. Like, what the hell is this outer? No, just if we need some specific check on the outer, to make sure that to create logic, whether we would want to create subsystem, I would just do it in C++ for my friend, right? Because it seems like the outer operation is not something needed from the blueprint perspective, right? Yeah, so I can just return true, right? Like make literal bool, right? True, that it should create this, and let's overwrite another. Does support the world type, right? And that is interesting because I don't have this. Why I don't have this? Oh my god, another mistake on my end, right? I think because I want to pass in the world type unless it is not exposed, really. Let's take a peek. World system. Where is this? Does support the world type? Is it exposed to? No, it is not exposed to blueprints, I think. Let me double check. Context insensitive. World type. No, it isn't. So I have to think about how I will pass in the world type in here. So that I wouldn't be able to use in here. Actually, that makes sense. But I might need to... Yeah, because... Or... Let's work back on that idea. Yeah, it would be cool to pass in at least the info about whether it is game world, editor world, plane editor, game preview, right? This might be needed for my friend. Yeah, but the rest of it seems pretty... on world begin play, yeah. On world components updated, on world end play. Post initialize, pretty initialize. Yeah, the API is mirrored, kinda. Right, let me turn that off. Let me compile that again and see the compiler error, because I forgot what was the compiler error, and I might need a quick break for making some hot tea for me. Yeah, so a quick break on my end. A quick break on my end, and I need to make some tea, and I'll be back soon. See you in a couple of minutes. All right, so we're back. We're back. I'm back from the break. I ate some light snack and I got some hot tea right now. Let's get back to development of this little plugin. Basically, what we're looking at right now is just one world subsystem that I exposed to Blueprint and mirrored its API. I still have tickable world subsystem, right, to do, and the other subsystem that I wanna there are two more subsystems that I wanna expose to my Blueprint scripting friend is game instance subsystem and local player subsystem. Those are the ones that we need, right? But still, even with such simple task, there still are some questions to answer. Like, for example, the world is not a supported, pointer to world is a supported Blueprint thing, but world doesn't have any Blueprint API exposed. So do I somehow make the world exposable to my friend or not? I think not. There's a reason why they did that, right? In such a way, because it feels like all the operations that are exposed in the world class are more on the C++ level thing, right? Like, you wouldn't want anyone with Blueprint to mess with any of this stuff. From the Blueprint, from the script perspective, it already should have been taken care of, and other things should expose this particular parts of code, right? So even though the base world subsystem API does contain, like ability to, for example, on world begin play in a subclass of world subsystem, I could do some logic to check, for example, world net mode, do some other things. If I need that, I would have to explicitly add something here, right? Because, for example, if on world begin play I want to query for actors, I can just call get all actors, right? Which underneath the hood queries the world, etc., etc. So for this case, I'm not exposing the world because it's not needed. I can do other things on world begin play, like read some data from settings or whatever, right? The one thing that I do wanna expose my friend is supporting the world type, because he might want to, do subsystems for the game, right? So the world type that is being supported is actually, if we take a peek on the enum, is game, py, game preview, and game RPC, right? But he might want to develop a little tool for himself and want to create a subsystem that for some reason will work only in editor, and I want to give him this access, right? A world type is not being exposed to blueprints, right? At all. It just won't compile, right? It will show an error that, hey, doesn't know what to do with it because it's not really exposed, right? So let's compile that. Let's check one final thing. I want to see if I can check for world type without checking for context in blueprint functions, if there is maybe something else that I can latch onto. If not, the tactic is very simple. Just create a enum class in here, BP world subsystem, that will be, blueprint type, and just expose that and quickly translate my eWorld type to more blueprint scripting friendly enums. That will be actually working. That is something that I don't understand. What is this key software, Chromium, whatever? I don't know. Let's open up the... Why this assembly showed up? I have no fucking clue. And let's, without context, type in world, type maybe with space. Not really nothing related to world type. So we're getting back to the original plan of action, which right now means I need to create my own class in here. In class, right? Which we'll be calling BP world type. Because why the fuck not? And it will be U class, of course. What the fuck? Wait a sec. UNM, of course. I am stupid ass. I forgot about this thing. Yeah, I had to quickly look it up. UNM, right? That's the macro. You can make it UNM class, and it can be backed by U8, of course. Wait, what? The fuck am I doing wrong? I'm doing everything correctly. Okay, it is just Rider that is acting out, right? You can resolve some. You can resolve U in 8. I don't have the typo in here, right? I don't. So U enum. Okay. Yeah, so my cat came in here. Hey, come back. You want to say hello to the world? Do you want to just chill out? And I don't know if you saw him. He barely freaking. He is not a parkour guy. Yeah, and you just type in uenum. Oh my god, uenum, right? And if you want to expose the blueprint, you just need to do blueprint type, and that's it. You can also add meta with bit flags and use this type of stuff, right? But just blueprint type will suffice. So blueprint type, right? And that's one of the good things. If you are unsure how to do something, you can just type it in and try to find how Epic does it, right? Yeah, so here I want to kind of simplify things for my friend so he wouldn't be thinking, oh my god, am I doing things for game or Pi or game preview, game RPC? What the fuck am I doing here, right? I want to simplify it for him so it will be just, game world. It would be just editor world. None, technically. And enact. No, fuck the enact, right? I think that's it, really. Oh, what's up, Pumba? Where's the mouse? And here you go. I'm not sure if you can see him. He's playing around in here. That's how I should leave my camera. Just on cat. Alright. Where was I? Yeah, I have this enum right now, right? And what I can do is... Oh, of course. BP world type, right? I can just type in const world type BP world type, right? And what happens right now is that here I need to do a translation of world type to world type. So switch world type, or I can just do, you know, like if world type equal, and it won't help me. I have to do like world type none, then something else if etc etc. Right, and I can just do BP world type out BP world type. Where's your mouse? Where's... Yes. All right. And it's playing. Pumbaa is playing. On the world type. Yeah, if world type is none, then world type none, right? Else if world type is game or world type is play and editor world, or world type is game preview or game RPC. Then out BP world type is BP world type game world, because that's what really you need to know from a BP perspective, at least for our case, right? The differentiation between game and pipe doesn't exist, right? And the last case, else if, just to make sure that I can give it to my friend, world type equal editor or world type equals editor preview or inactive editor world. And I forgot to type in this. Oh my god. I actually like to organize code in that fashion. Bang, 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 bang. All right. If it is this, then out BP world type equal BP world type editor world. That's all we really need to know. And boom, that's what is being given out. It is initialized, or I can just do none. So actually I don't even have to check for none. Actually I can just do this, right? If I'm initializing with none, then yeah, the logic is if the eWorld type will be none, none of these checks would go in, so it will be none and done, right? So that's how I'm going to tell my friend what is the world type, and he can do the check there, right? Let's compile. Let's see the cogs turning. cogs. Exactly. It might be the indexing. Why everything here is in Rider screams, no, it won't compile. When it actually will. My cat is just hanging out. Let me quickly show it to you. He's just hanging out right there. He's just hanging there. He got so big. He used to be such a small cutie. Now he's big cutie with the big booty. All right, it of course. Compiled. And does support the world type. Got that. BP world type, and you can do like switch. Why it's not? You can do this. None is no. This yes. Or better yet, we can do select, right? That's how it works. That will be better. Because we can just do one return node, look up the value in here, right? And for non-false, for game world should return true, for editor world should return false. Bang, it will be initialized only for all the game world, right? Bang, that thing out of the question. Now I can just do this, and my friend can quickly look at that. And we'll see if it actually works. On world, again, play. World component updated. On world components updated. Initialize. Again, play. Components updated. And we'll quickly see if it actually works. End play. On world end play. End play. Right. Post initialize. Quickly, let's print. Post initialize. Post init. Right. And pre-deinitialize. Yeah, it gives pre-exposed all of the API, my friend. Right now for the world subsystem. Pre-deinitialize. Pre-de. All right. Should create subsystem. It's true. We could add additional logic in here, like check for whether we are, you know, authoritative for some object or whatever, right? And yeah. Let's turn play, and we immediately got some applicable world subsystem. Get that ID. What? And everything closed. Great. Great success. Okay, my cat came down from the thing. Lovely boy. So, I don't know why Tickable World Subsystem suddenly freaking crashed, because okay, I get why I created this blue. Okay, there's one thing that I need to do. That I forgot. Because those classes also are getting immediately initialized and instantiated. So an empty UBP world subsystem exists, right? So what happens is this has nothing. This is a pure virtual, yeah, like quickly. There was an instance of UBP tickable world subsystem and it crashed. Why there was? Because just by the act of creating such subclass, we are creating a subsystem that will be created. So what we want to do right now, let's uncomment the thing that we haven't implemented yet. And let's make sure that this regular UBP world subsystem is not actually created, right? Which means it should work like this. If this is this pure class, if this is this class, not a subclass of UBP world subsystem, then it shouldn't create subsystem. If it is, it should call this function or something like that, right? Because otherwise it will get created and it will just be there, sitting empty in the freaking memory, right? And we don't want that, really. So we can see one thing, that our world subsystem works right now and there won't be crash, because there won't be like half not initialized tickable world subsystem, right? So it should work without the crash. Where are you, Pumba? Pumba. Come here. Oh. Mm. Ah, you're in that mood. In the play mood. My cats want to play right now. Come on, Pumba. Did it compile? That's one thing. Nice. There are millions of them, but when you're waiting for compilation, always pet him a little bit, play with. Great programmer's friend. Don't see him. Here it is. Here he is. Pumba. Sleepy, are we? He has his eyes like this. That's awesome. Alright. I wanna turn up the world. And we got no calls. Did the thing not initialize at all? Why? I have no idea what is breaking there. Boomba. It should print a string. I remember that I had some at the day job problem with like printing on some of the functions in subsystem in on initialization, because like it was working, but there was no print because it was before like it could render the thing or something like this, if I remember correctly. We can just do this, return true. It should create the subsystem. World type. Game world should return true. And yeah, we can just maybe put breakpoints in here, right? Or we can look through the logs actually, because even if it didn't, oh my god, so much. Okay, clear my log. Thank you for disassembled. Oh, actually, yeah, it called right now. Initialize called, everything called, it just disappeared quickly, but we can also find it in here. At least we should. Wait, what? Ensure condition failed. B has called post initialize. Post initialize has not been called for subsistence. Check for missing post initialize. That's weird. Okay, we got some problem in here. And post initialize. And I think I know what the problem is that I didn't call the super. Yeah, I should call these super post initialize first and then call BP initialize. And the reverse of that here. First, let's deinitialize and then call the super pre-deinitialize, even though it is empty. But we should call that. Because there might be some change in the API in the further version where something happens here, right? How about with initialize? Oh, initialize also should work like this. Sorry. Super initialize, right? With the call action. Which other function should also post initialize and world begin play. There are supers here and on components updated. Where the hell is it? Yeah, might as well. The API might change, so it's good to, you know, do this. And this should take care of BP has called post initialize. Ensure. Because right now it should be called. Initialize called, yeah. Which reminds me, there's another plugin that fucked off from marketing, from Unreal Marketplace, called Fab. Right, let's try live coding. Which was exposing ensures and all the other logging messages. Build failed. Great. Ah, yeah, of course. I had an error. We haven't supplied the necessary parameter. And now we can just clear the log, click play, and there should be no ensure on our end. Everything initialized, perfect. Subsystem is ready to be used. You could do something with that, right? For example, I could say every time I do a space button press, I could register something within the subsystem, right? I could do things like that. So let's open up our pawn actually. Why just clicking on a pawn? What the hell? That's weird. Okay, so let's get world setting. Third player controller. Ah, it is in code where the space button works. Default mapping context. Yeah, you could do a lot with that right now. All right, but we, expose the world subsystem, etc. And we can quickly. Will we be needing me and my friend? Will we need detectable world subsystem? Our game will be turn-based. Maybe I'll get back to tickable subsystem. Right now, let's implement the other very important, which is game instance subsystem. But as you can see, it has way easier API, so it will be a quick thing. Let's jump back in here. First of all, let's turn off the editor. I have no idea what those assembler things are. Some red. I wish I knew. I would probably have to compile the game with the debug game, or have the debug compiled editor to see that. What is going on here? There might be some problem with what I did with world subsystem right now. There might be. Ah yes, I forgot that there's another challenge. Not only like create game instance subsystem, but to make sure that this doesn't spawn. Yet when the should create subsystem on the child is being called, I will call the BP to create subsystem. So basically, what I need to do is actually change that it should be just blueprint implementable event. It should be actually blueprint native event. That there is, you can implement it in blueprint, but there is a native implementation. The native implementation should be full. Basically, why did I compile it again? I don't know. Let's turn that off. Let's turn that off. And now, Pumba, you're observing my coding. Isn't he the nicest cat ever? Oh, Pumba. Oh, how I look. Okay, so we're changing this to blueprint native event. And we are providing an implementation for that, which is return what is happening. Return false. Writer is just misbehaving. Create system implementation return false, and it should take care of the fact that it will be calling here, calling it, and false. Only the children will actually have correct implementation. This should take care of that the empty subsystem won't be created anymore, and maybe this will take care of those crash at the end that I cannot debug because it is in this assembly and I don't see what's going on. Maybe it is based on that. Maybe it is not. Maybe I might need to take this plugin, put it into an NGL build with the source code and see what the hell is the problem. God damn, my cat jumped down and like this cloud of fur erupted in the air. Camera for sure didn't pick it up, but god damn. Alright, my cat is no longer here. I can go to this view of camera. Yeah, I started with the world subsystem because I knew that it would be the hardest. I mean, game instance subsystem and most probably local player subsystem, which also has Very simple. API, although I don't think I would be able to expose this local player business. It might be just the empty class with no API like this, and because you don't really work with local player on blueprint side of things, just if we need to have something that will have a lifetime of local player. No assert right now. And maybe there won't be no assert or crash on stuff. Yep, that fixed it. So even though I couldn't see the assembly or what was going on when the assembly crashed within that only showed the assembly was happening, I kind of guessed it correctly, that it's probably because the instance of this subsystem, this empty subsystem also lives here, right? So, okay, let's quickly create the game instance. Oh, now we are closing the editor and there's still some crash. You cannot see. Yeah, I will definitely have to move this plugin before submitting it. Move this plugin to like the one repository that I have with the source code engine from the source code and see the actual crash there. What the hell is going on, right? All right, so now let's click here, add Unreal class, all classes, view game instance, subsystem. I want to be called UBP game instance. All right, add it. And the same way as before, game instance is actually game instance subsystem is actually quite simple. Wait, what is this business with you? Oh my god, yeah, oh shit. I edit, rename. Edit, rename. Yeah, I fucked it up. Sometimes I'm doing this error. Okay, now it is correct. How was I writing this comment? Let me just copy it. Group index post. Oh, I think my cat wants to exit. Mumbai, you wanna go? Ashish? Alright, cat wanted to exit, so I had to allow him. Yeah, that one will be simpler because there's only like really one API call that we need to expose. Which is that game instance. Basically this. Oh, and it's not even a virtual call, so I only need to do like you function, right? Blueprint callable, blueprint callable, and you game instance ptp get game instance. And display name get game instance. That's really it. Ain't no more thing about this. Game instance done, right? There's nothing really happening here. So now local player subsystem the same way. We quickly add it. Add a real class. All classes. Local player subsystem. And it is pp local player subsystem. And I think that's all we need for our prototypes. Let's expose that. Public. I don't know. I can go like player controller. I can just override this. I have only one idea that I could like do in here. Override, right? And private. I could just hold the object ptr for player controller. Right. I could just save, but why would I need this? Like when I can just go get player controller and that's it, right? I don't think I need this. Actually. What I might need is function blueprint. Implementable event or native event? Implementable event. Display name. Player controller changed. And it's just void pp player controller changed. Yeah, like C++ coding sometimes is completely not visually rewarding, right? But I also want to show this harder work or like more boring work, visually boring work as well, right? Because it is also important. Local player, I don't think this is something that is like really exposed to, yeah, to the blueprints, U player. No, it's not. Only as a U object, so. We won't be doing player controller changes in our game, I think, but you know, in case we might need, it's better to have this than not have. Wait, what the hell happened here? Alright, I think we can compile. Oh no, just start adding this definition because it's unresolved. Like pp player change. And let me just see, there's like, no, but maybe for the future reference after, you know, API may change and I will be ready with my super call. Why do the code that might break in the future when you can do the code that will be more merge safe? Let me quickly take my medicine, or probiotic rather. And don't worry, more visually cool streams will be happening in the future. It's just right now, me and my friend, we are just laying foundation for the MVP of the MVP for the project that we want to do together. So the foundations are always like a little bit less visually glorious, you know? But that's what every game goes through. And I kind of want to show that part of making a game too, right? As I said, I want to be real here, show as much as possible. Game development, that's what programmers do day in, day out. They're like, all right, let's do this thing. Okay, so now, for example, we can plugins, BP subsystem content. I actually wonder why I only have this. Because, okay. Oh, subsystem example, BP world subsystem example, and now I can go subsystem. Wait a sec. I forgot to put. I forgot to do the whole reason why I. Wait, what? Blueprint. Why I did this thing, and I in the end forgot the macro blueprintable in the thing. Oh my god. But the thing is, right now I also am not really preventing from creation of this subsystem when the game instance starts. The empty subsystem is getting created here. Shit, can I like stop that? Does use subsystem? Oh yes, should create subsystem. I should expose those things as well. I already know that I compiled it, so maybe let's quickly do this, right? Like also public, or I can just copy it from my BP world subsystem. I should do exactly this. I don't want to have a copy of this. Of the instance of this subsystem laying around empty, right? So there's one thing, and we'll be adding here as well. Return BP should create subsystem. return false. So now it will be working great. I won't have empty subsystems laying around doing God only knows what, right? So we should be golden. We should be golden. And that's also one of the other things that programmers sometimes facing. It's like, okay, I'm waiting for the editor to turn off so I can recompile again. That's why live coding is important, etc. I can't wait until we, get into like more nitty gritty when we will have actual battle system here, right? That's one thing that I have to ask my friend. It's like, because he will be creating those blueprint implementations of the MVP of our combat, right? And we'll be working with it as a review based thing, right? I will be doing blueprint reviews for him to see the script, to help him guide the script in more direction of how it should be programmed and scripted, etc., how to lay out data, so we won't end up wanting to kill ourselves half a year from now, right? And I want to ask him, like, could I do it live? And also, that's one of the other things that I am really trying to come up with. Like, code review is, you have tools for that, right? If we work purely in code, C++ code, we could easily, he could submit a code, ask for review, I could do it. With Blueprint, there's no tooling for that, right? So it would be cool to have this tool which would show you like the diff of every change, right? And that you could assign some comments to every change. I tried to search for that. There's no tool like that, really. I'm not sure how hard it would be to create such tool. It seems like the whole project on its own, right? And also, it really heavily depends on if as a programmer you could hook up to viewing the diff between two blueprints. So we might do some like other workaround way of doing this, either via comments or some other way. But all in all, I would love to do like live reviews with him, right? With the scripts that he had, and I'm not sure if he wants to be on the call while I would be doing it, so we could talk about it, or if he would be comfortable of showing that work or anything like this. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, enough of me talking shit. Let's here and yeah. Subsystem game instance subsystem BP game instance system BP game instance subsystem like that. And we can override should create subsystem for true. And we can do stuff with this, right? Like for example, let me quickly create like a new level in here, right? Would be basic. Creating a level basic. If we play it, we are just running around, right? And let's take our world settings. I need to duplicate a couple of things, right? PP first person game mode, right? I think this is the one that is being used here, right? Right. And so I have to go like here, copy it, and yeah, what I'm trying to do is like create an example where he could also see how things are interacting with each other. So for example, how you could interact with the game subsystem, etc., because it might not be clear immediately. And for some reason, copy function is... Oh yeah, P4 per force. And thank you for displaying my fucking IP in log. God damn it. Stupid shit. But for some reason... Fortunately, it is a local address, so it means nothing. But... Why can't I... Okay, I know nothing. Can I break into game thread? What is going on? No. I hacked the whole freaking editor. Yeah. I just wanted to copy the game mode. I swear. I swear. I have to turn off the pair first connection because I think pair first connection was lagging and I quickly wanted to do this. No, I didn't manage to do it in time because I have to finish the stream soon in like 5 to 10 minutes. Shit. Yeah, also, you know, after this stream and a couple of others, I want to gauge like how many people are interested in those streams when I'm just doing C++ coding, right? Because it might be a little bit boring visually. A lot of times I might be just musing about, you know, differences in code. And how would you rather see it? As a live stream when we are talking? Because I still want to show it off, or rather I should record myself while working on this shit and just do like a montage of me working on that. Like, I could go both ways, really. But whenever I'm working, I'm just recording me working and maybe provide like some narration. I don't know. Hey Graham, what is this emoji? Damn, it's not animating in my OBS. Let me quickly jump into Twitch. Ahoy! Hey! How are you doing? Oh, because I'm rated. Shit. Hi, Jaden. How are you doing? Long time no see. How are you doing? Jadello. I jak tam do czego doszedłeś? Yeah, I have a plugin working. Right now I want to quickly throw down a couple of examples, but when I was copying game mode, the whole freaking editor freezed because perfect connection is not there. So I wanna turn that shit off. Jaden says, "Hi, hello, we were just listening in before we raided." Oh shit. Yeah, not that much visually going on because it was like pure C++ programming code exposing blueprints, etc. So it was more like looking at the code and talking while doing this, which to be honest, I feel quite uncomfortable with because it feels like I'm boring as fuck. I don't know how other guys are doing this. Graham says C++ is Jaden's specialty. He teaches me. Oh, so I got questions. Jaden, how do you make the stream about pure C++ code interesting for people? Because, or maybe it is just my self-consciousness that, oh shit, it seems like I'm being boring because there are no particles running around and gameplay action happening on the screen. It's just pure code, compiler errors, etc. Shit like this, right? Do you have any tips of how to make like those more C++ programming oriented streams a little bit more interesting? Jaden says, this is not very true to Graham. Graham says he's crazy modest. I can see that. Jaden says, I scream at the screen for 8 hours and they apparently find my frustration entertaining. Oh, okay. I see. So just be yourself as a programmer, which I empathize with you because at the day job it's the same shit. Like something is not compiling or not working, and I'm like, why the fuck is not working? Why the fuck it's not working? And I'm shouting obscenities at code only to realize, oh shit, it was my own error. Okay, I'm in the wrong here, and I'm calling myself everything. I'm using every bad word that I know about myself. So you're saying that it should be exactly. We should just be real. Programmers on Twitch should be real. All right, yeah, because I'll be honest, I am a little bit self-conscious about streaming just pure code streams. Like the previous streams when I'm exploring plugins or like I'm building gameplay with blueprints or particles or chaos destruction or whatever, it's way more visually entertaining, right? So I felt comfortable because I could rely on that. And here it's like, holy shit, it's just me, code, and my personality. Jaden says, I do have a stream overlay viewers can interact with while I stare at the code blank face. Or I'm asking the chat for the answer every 30 seconds. That's also a good idea. Graham says, anyone that codes in it knows what to expect. That is also true. Let me quickly turn off the Perforce connection because I think I will fucking lose my wait, where do you fucking turn off the source code? Yes, I know the server's unavailable, and I want to turn off any source code fucking Perforce connection because of that I cannot copy one single blueprint, and I'm getting angry. Yeah. Let me quickly check this one thing. Yeah. Guys, maybe you'll be able to help me with this, like, because I forgot how you turn off the fucking source control. In the project source control. The fuck? Perforce. Oh, and because I quickly want to set up an example for my friend and with the subsystem blueprints, etc., blah 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 blah. And then for some reason when I just tried to copy game mode and the pawn, because I want to set up like, hey, here's a pawn, he will call to this game subsystem, game instance subsystem, and something will happen, right? I want to set this up and the goddamn Perforce completely, idled the whole editor and I cannot set it up. Perforce. What the fuck is going on? Source control. Auto commit to source control on save. The fuck? No, I would never want that, but tools, do you do it here? Windows. I completely forgot how you do this, and right now it is destroying my time and work. Holy shit. Okay, can I just connect to revision control and select none? Oh, it's just how you do it, disable. And can I now open up my level that I was working on? That I apparently haven't saved, really? And I don't want to save, or I do want to save. New level, basic, blah blah blah. Save as, save current level as. Why I don't see plugins in here? That's the good question. Plugin content, localized content. Plugins, BP, subsystem content, subsystem example. Here it is like subsystems example map. Right? Okay, I found it. You just had to click here. It's not in the preferences or anything like this. I'm just a stupid ass right now. Damn, and you just raided me and I have to finish soon. No! I need to pass on the raid to other person. Shit, I wish I could stream longer for y'all. But today I have to finish sooner. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Okay. Let's not cave in under the pressure of time. Let's try to freaking copy the game mode in here. BP third person game mode. Let's just do like a copy, right? Bank. Or I can just oh, it actually did copy. Okay. BP example subsystems game mode. Right? And I also wanna copy third player controller character, whatever. All of those I wanna copy. And I wanna copy here. Yes, thank you. BP subsystems phone. The naming convention is horrible, but you know, don't worry. It's just for the example. Subsystems player controller. What are you working on, Jaden, right now? And yes, I wanna use this phone here. Because I will be modifying this. I wanna do the same controller in the flying fuck. Why didn't of course, because I was trying to put game mode, right? And did I create a game instance? Yes, I did create a game instance. It should be created, and I can create like some variable. I can create like some function in here that can be called from outside. Let's call it, I don't know, add some count, whatever, right? Let's create the variable, like some count or whatever, right? And have it as integer, because why not? And of course, when this happens, just ++ increment int, and that's it. And we want to call it from actually, you know, our subsystem spawn to jumpstart. This is the function from code. Great. And it's all from code. Whatever, we can just do like debug input, right? Input debug key, I don't know, like F, right? And whenever we press F, I can just call get BP game or game instance, BP game instance subsystem. Wait a second, why is it's not picking up that? It's showing me game instance subsystem. It's showing me the C++ base class, but oh yeah, world subsystem example. That is interesting, y'all. I guess we will have another stream on that. Jadem answers. my question about what he's working on. I'm working on a sky weather system in a painterly style. Ooh, bit of a tech art for my game and a plugin release. Yourself? I'm trying to create the plugin to expose subsystems to Blueprint because me and my friend are kickstarting a little game together, and we want to use subsystems. My friend wants to get into Blueprint scripting, right? And I want to expose the awesomeness of subsystems to him, right? Because there are certain things like anyone knows that you're creating the actor, you call it something manager, and you have to manually drop it into the world, and if you change the level or something happens and it doesn't have that actor, all the problem arises, and also this manager inherits everything from actor, so there's a lot of baggage there. And Epic already delivered the subsystem to C++ coders. Hey, you want to do something for the world or game instance or local player or whatever? Here are your subsystems. You can quickly extend functionality, add something new there, and just be done with that, right? And it's easy, nice. You can use it in a very optimized way, right? Because instead of like having manager being in the level doing some weird things, it already exists. You can just call for it, right? And that's what I'm trying to expose to him. And right now I'm trying to set up quickly an example. I created like a game instance that should be created and has some function, and for example someone like a pawn can interact with this game instance and something can happen. And game instance itself could also interact with whatever, right? Like I could have a begin play and register this pawn to my game instance and then do something with that, etc, etc, right? And creation of plugin itself was easy and exposing the API, but right now I'm coming upon the problem that I haven't anticipated. Because with regular game subsystems, Diabol, it says, and I am leeching. Get subsystem. I think you meant to say, Diabolate, I'm learning. And Diabolate here is a sad friend that I'm, kickstarting a little something, right, with him. And the thing where you have a subsystem created and you want to call it and do something with it, you just type get the name of subsystem, and as you can see, you get a whole subsystem and you can start doing something with it. Like for example, get Graham says, gotta learn from somewhere. That's true. And then the Apple, it says, yes, it's about balls. Yeah. In a sense, it's about balls. Turn-based balls game. And I'm not gonna elaborate any further. Yeah, and you can just start call it like mesh painting and, call API from this subsystem, right? If it's exposed. And I created this game instance subsystems because in theory, for example, if we are making a turn-based game about balls, for example, you might want to implement a turn manager as a game instance subsystem instead of like some actor, right? At least that was my train of thought. And since, Diaboli wants to learn and create like the MVP of this, right? Why not expose it, right? And right now, the problem is, if I type in the name bp get bp underscore get game instance subsystem example, there is no call for that. I can only do game instance, and I can get BP game instance subsystems, but it is just my base class. And I haven't anticipated that, holy shit. For some reason, only that thing gets registered, but not the blueprint, child of that. But at the same time, get BP world example subsystem example C, I can get. I can start working with that, right? Like for example, what do I have in my game world subsystem exposed as a blueprint collabo? Like, for example, get world, right? I can go get world and start doing something with the world, right? For some reason, I don't have the same thing for game instance subsystem, and that I will have to think about how to create this altogether. Graham says, if you are exposing the subsystem via blueprint, you probably aren't going to get the altogether node, are you? That's the thing. For the world subsystem, I got the altogether. For the game instance subsystem, I didn't get this, right? So that's like a question. So yeah, that will be the question to answer for the next stream. Because hey, I have no idea right now. When I just look at the code, there is nothing in world subsystem that would indicate why this autogetter wouldn't work, right? Internal owning subsystem. Is it something connected to the subsystem collection? Probably is. Probably it is connected to like subsystem collection base, so I would have to get more familiar with the subsystem collection and somehow make those game instance, because actually that's the one that I wanted the most to expose to my friend here. And I have no idea why. I have to, you know, this, or I would have to do some static function magic to create a static function that would no, I hate magic function like that. Game instance. Okay, because to access the game instance, I should get it from. Okay, so I think it is just game instance. How can I get game instance and I have to get subsystem? What they're saying here? Get subsystem. Okay, there is like some connection, at least it seems from code, that game instance subsystems should be accessed through game instance. Or this call. So there are a couple of threads to follow. I will do this, you know, on the next stream. Meanwhile, unfortunately, I have to, you know, end the stream today. So, how can I do this? I never really forwarded a raid before. So, let's try to do this together, shall we? Who should we raid right now? To whom should I expose? Let's launch Twitch in here. And how do you do it? I never really did this. Like, let's find why is this looking like that? Categories. Yeah, it can be coding. Graham says, Javen Schreier is a really good UE dev you could try. Let's find him. And he is streaming right now. Alright. And now, guys, I need you to... Oh, also Unreal. And Gas. He's working on Gas. Ability set, attribute set. I love this. How can I do... That's how you know that I'm a newbie with this. Can I... How can I raid him? Yeah, even though I'm streaming for some time, some of the basic functions of Twitch are still a mystery to me. do this like this. No. Jadem, if you're still here, how can I do this? How? Twitch. How can I raid someone? In your chat, it would be raid. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you, Graham. Let me just copy it quickly. Yeah, because I really need to end. So here's my chat. I do this. And boom. I think it worked. But at least it should. And by the way, if you're recommending him, Graham, I'm clicking observing. I hope it worked.
Hey, thanks for the follow, Adoralzo. Appreciate it. You are officially the 850th follower on Twitch, so big thank you to you. But also, again, big thanks to Sensidan for being 849. Still much appreciated.
Okay, did it work? He's good. CDPR dev. Oh, so nice. So he's not living. If he's living in Poland, he's not that far from me. I hope the raid worked. I have no idea how to check if the raid worked. I'm still a newbie when it comes to this stuff. It's got a timer, almost raided. Ah, okay.
Hey, Diabolit, thanks for the follow as well. Hello. Yes, fellow designers. What's up?
Okay, raid worked.
Thanks for the raid. Didn't even realize it was a raid. Much appreciated. How's everybody doing? Once I'm able to clean up this mess here, I can show you a little bit about.
All right, okay, guys. I have to really, like end the stream today. I will try to catch up on this VOD because I'm curious about the gas in here. We'll be dealing. We'll be dealing with the gas in the future. Meanwhile, yeah, let me close everything down. And so I hope you guys have a nice, nice evening, nice rest of the day, and then the rest of the week. So yeah, on next Sunday, my streaming will happen at weird hours. I don't know what hours, but it will be extremely weird. So without further ado, have a nice day, nice week, and see you next Sunday. Bye bye.